Welcome to Sliders and Wings, a podcast about the TV show Sliders
and the TV show Wings
and all the other forgotten TV shows of the 90s.
I'm Valerie Temple.
And I'm Rachel Cox. Good evening, Valerie.
Hey, Rachel. Sounds so sultry.
I thought I would try to sound more mellifluous.
Mellifluous? I can't say it.
Do we have any housekeeping from last week?
No, nothing.
No, everything was perfect. Good.
Again, perfect.
They just keep getting better and better.
We're on a roll.
Tonight we are talking about Caroline in the City with Caitlin McGurk.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Caitlin is an associate curator at the Lea Ireland Cartoon Library. And she's also an assistant professor at the Ohio State University. I love that Ohio State University has the in the title.
It's so annoying. And they actually tried to copyright the word the.
What? No.
Yeah, no, it was a whole thing. It's extremely obnoxious, but
it's just like, we are the Ohio State University. I'm like, who else in the country has a the in the name of their university?
It's because, there's Oregon State University and Ohio State University, which are different schools, and they wanted to separate it somehow.
Oh,
it's
okay.
Pretty silly though. Anyway, the Lea Ireland is the best part of it.
And yes, obviously.
I'm glad to be here representing the Lea Ireland.
Yay!
So tell us about your personal history with this show.
I have no personal history with this show, but I really enjoyed watching the couple episodes I watched to prepare for this. I should say I vaguely remember seeing it.
Were you in diapers when this show was airing?
So it started in 95, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I was 9 years old. So when it ran, I was like between 9 and 13 years old. So it would not have been something that I was paying a lot of attention to, but we did have Seinfeld.
You didn't like Sex in the City when you were 9 or other shows about single women?
No.
Okay.
I was mostly watching things like Fresh Prince and Family Matters and stuff.
Oh, so was I.
That was more of my lane, but watching it, it did bring back, some memories of just generally seeing it because it was on, I think, around the time that Seinfeld would have been on as well. So.
Yeah, it was a must-see TV. It was in the must-see TV lineup.
We're back with like a high-quality NBC show tonight. This
absolutely,
is not that other garbage we've been talking about.
This has jokes. There's characters. It's a strong premise.
I definitely watched all of this, and I was also a very big fan of Kathy, the cartoon from a young, we had all of the Kathy compilations in our bathrooms and I read all of them. So I've always been very worried about getting married
and trying on swimsuits.
And there are just Kathy cartoons that I have memorized. There's one where Kathy's trying to lose weight, but she's trying to shrink her legs. So she's at the pool. So she gets in the pool and gets out and makes them hot I don't get it. She's trying to shrink them like clothes. A lot of things I didn't understand.
I have a Kathy cake tin. So I can make a cake of Kathy's face, which I have not done thus far because I feel like that would be disturbing.
I follow Kathy Goosewhite on Instagram and she's got lots of new stuff. That's very funny.
Yes.
She does. And she's a wonderful person. I know her personally. And I will say watching this, I was like, oh, this is clearly supposed to be Kathy.
And they
bunch of jokes that it's not Kathy and people confuse her with Kathy. It is so clearly based on Kathy and down to the fact that Kathy Guisewite is unlike her cartoon, a very beautiful woman who draws herself in this really homely way and stuff. So I don't know. It's kind of, it was wonderful. It's very Kathy-ish.
In the first 2 minutes of the episode, they're I draw a cartoon like Kathy. Oh, it's not Kathy though. It's Caroline City. Okay.
How did you say it was pronounced? Guisewite?
Guisewite.
Guisewite. Oh my God. Okay. Guys and Dolls. Guisewite. Got it. Kathy Guisewite, was she a consultant on the show or did she sue them or?
Oh, I don't know. But she would be the main person that was a woman with a comic strip at that time. I mean, there were others, but none that seemed like they're quite as similar to what.
Well, I mean, it's got the C name. It's called her name.
When I was watching it, I was like, oh, Roz Chast or Sylvia, maybe.
This one, I think, the thing that really to me makes it clearly Kathy inspired is that they talk a lot about merchandising and the greeting card company.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's exactly.
So American Greetings, Cleveland was like the superpower of like promoting comic strips that actually started as like greeting card characters, like Ziggy and stuff like that. And Kathy was definitely in there as well.
Here's my question. Why wasn't Maxine ever turned into a syndicated content?
I love Maxine. I agree. I don't know.
He's so funny.
Is there still Maxine merchandise?
I think so at home.
Wait, I don't know what you're talking about. Oh, the old lady?
Yeah, she's the old
grouchy
lady.
Oh, she's on tons of stuff.
Yeah, she's iconic to me. I think about Maxine a lot as if, you know, it's like that's part of my personality is Maxine.
I love that. I mean, there's this like really rich history between greeting cards and comics, and also cartoons and comics. Like the Care Bears also started as a American greeting card thing before it was a cartoon.
If you look at the like Wikipedia page for American greetings, you'll be shocked, especially in the 80s when it was just any character, like recognizable character that, you know, you had on like your bed sheets or like wrapping paper or something like that. It very possibly started as a greeting card. That doesn't happen anymore, right? Like,
no, I don't think so. I feel like the heyday of greeting cards is over. Like at my hometown, I feel like I'm sorry if I'm taking us right off the topic.
No, please.
My hometown had like 4 greeting card stores when I was growing. You know, Card Den was the card store around the block from my house where I like saw Ziggy stuff all the time and things like that. And I don't think standalone card stores even exist as much.
Millennials killed greeting cards. Okay.
No, I think I would bet the greeting card sales, without looking it up, I would bet the numbers are the same. They're just not being sold at standalone stores. They're being sold at Target and Walmart, places like that.
That's true.
Because some e-cards did not take over the physical greeting card market the way that we thought it would. You remember when some e-cards came out, we're like, oh, these are all going to be electronic.
But I do have to say that it's a very boomer thing to just have like a box of greeting cards in your house that you found some, you know, while you were out and you're saving it for the perfect occasion, this perfect person to give it to. I don't think that's a thing that we do.
No, but I'm sad that we don't, and I'm sad that these don't exist because, like, where are you going to go to get your mug with like a nice cartoony slogan on it these days?
No.
You know?
My husband's thing is taking cards that people give him for a holiday and then just crossing out his name and rewriting like happy birthday Val and then giving it to you. And he's reused that joke many times.
I get boxes of greeting cards or at the thrift store and do the same thing. It's always like these like weird cards about christenings from the 70s. And then I'm like, I just like cross out things and I'm like, a happy birthday from Jesus, you know?
All right, I can't think of a segue for this. So Val, what's your personal history with Caroline in the City?
Oh, I definitely watched all of it. Just watching these episodes that we watched for the podcast, it just brought back a lot of memories and just like a lot of thoughts I had about the show, even when I was a kid. I don't know if
it was much better than I thought it would be. I would say it was better than The Single Guy.
I was going to ask you, how would you rate Caroline in the City versus The Single Guy?
I think they're neck and neck, I think.
They are neck and neck, but I feel like Caroline has the edge.
I think that, I watched 2.5 episodes of Caroline in the City. It started off strong, but then it was definitely better in the subsequent episodes when it got its footing. I don't know. I think that maybe Single Guy got a bit better, but I think that Caroline in the City was more cohesive.
Yeah.
And just every single ensemble member was just knocking it out of the park.
Oh, absolutely.
In my memory, Dell was the one on the roller skates. And then as I started watching the pilot, I was like, oh, it's that little one that talks fast. His assistant.
Oh, yeah.
Is the one that wears the roller skates around.
Him and Dell both had extremely 90s ties. They were just like very painterly, like bold statements in their ties.
Yeah, I feel like I didn't know what to expect since I couldn't remember anything about it before starting it. And in that first episode where, you know, they're talking about Dell, but they haven't shown him yet. And she's like, you know, heartbroken over him because their recent breakup. I'm like, okay, who's this guy? And then they show him and I'm like, really?
Yeah.
Like he's like the most.
You don't like a guy with a bob haircut?
Oh my God. It's like such a 90s style heartthrob where I was like, barf, what the fuck is wrong with his hair?
And like they explicitly say, like, Annie, who's obviously my favorite character because she's so funny. Like I obviously am
Annie Spadaro.
Yeah, I love a sassy best friend. That's always my favorite character. And she's explicitly is just like, how could you break up with Del? He has such great hair. And then you see his hair and it is fully just like the biggest, there's a mop of hair. It's so
awful. Yeah.
And then he's this kind of like big guy and he's wearing these giant double-breasted suits.
I'm way more a Richard gal myself.
From the pilot to the second episode, there's such a slight shift in Del's hair that's an improvement. So in the pilot, it is just chin length, parted down the middle, almost 90s grunge hair. Right. And then in the second, sorry, you guys didn't watch this one. I just jumped right to the second one. I watched the second episode.
You're like, I can't stop. I need to see the second one.
And it's kind of like my hair now. It's just got like shorter in the front. It's a little more styled, like it looks like more like a grown out. So they did something and they put it in front of some focus groups.
Gave them some layers maybe to like break up the.
But I almost watching the second episode, you don't see Del in the office at all. And I thought, did they totally drop the greeting card thing? But they didn't. I don't know. He's just her boyfriend in the second one.
Oh.
Right. So I think that they dropped. I'm wondering if the pilot even aired because
because like at the end of the pilot, they're like, let's just be friends.
Exactly. But no, they are dating in episode 2, and then they're dating in the Thanksgiving one that you watched.
Yeah,
we watched, right? But yeah, there is so much greeting card stuff. Like later on in the show, Del gets fired from his dad's greeting card company, and then he and Charlie start their own greeting card company called Eagle Greeting Cards.
When you're starting your own company, you got to take the best player from your previous company. You got to poach, right? And Charlie is obviously a star in the making.
I feel like Charlie had like some adorable ideas for cards in the episode. I'm trying to remember.
They were actually pretty funny even for today. They were like, it was a joke about coming out and he's like, good for gays and good for debutantes.
Yes. I think that's great. He's adorable. I like him.
It really made me laugh. He's like, okay, you don't like that one. Okay, I got another idea.
Menopause joke.
Yes.
Before I started watching this week, the only thing I remembered about Caroline City was that I liked the show, and then I remembered that Caroline and Richard got together in the end, but that as a teenager, I was very confused because I always thought Richard was gay.
Yeah, I feel like that might have been, it's just, they go all in on Caroline and Richard. I was going to ask Caitlin, would you have guessed that the main romantic relationship of this show would be Caroline and Richard based on the pilot?
Based on the pilot, I mean, like the way that it ends, where Richard is like kind of looking up at her apartment, and then after leaving to see if she and Del got together or whatever, I was like, okay. So clearly there's something there.
Yeah.
But no, I wouldn't have guessed, especially by the time, like watching the Thanksgiving episode where he clearly has another girlfriend. Yeah, I would not have guessed that. It doesn't seem like it's really set up for that.
And so he's also just such a bitch. Like,
he's such a bitch, but I love him.
He's so catty.
He has all the good lines.
Yeah.
He's fantastic. I mean, he's a little
funny.
like, he's a little like young Sheldon-y or something for me, but he's like, like very dry and just intense.
Just
like I kind of adore him.
Like acerbic and just cutting and literally hates everything except Caroline, I guess. But even as a fan of the show, I don't think I ever bought their relationship. I was like, really? They don't have a chemistry that I buy. But
yeah, I can't see that at all. I'm tempted to actually watch those episodes to see like where they get together, because I don't understand how they make that work.
I don't know. It's so funny too, because like the second episode we watched is a Thanksgiving episode, and it like takes place at the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade, which is amazing. And it's like Caroline has a balloon at the parade, which is so great. If you can work in the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade, I'm happy. Like I am just as enthusiastic about that parade as Caroline. I love it. But like the sort of B plot of that episode is that Richard has this girlfriend played by Lauren Graham. Yes, which is a delight to see. Yeah. And he does not like this girlfriend. And it's like, I feel like I understand why on some level. Like,
No, totally.
Like it's
Super obnoxious. She's like what sort of an animal rights activist, like out of her gourd.
that to me, I think, is the most 90s thing, is that she sees a person wearing a fur coat and she takes paint out of her purse and throws it on them.
Who I thought, I mean, so I like I was streaming it to my TV and it was kind of grainy from YouTube already.
Yep.
And when the person turns around, I thought it was Fabio.
Me too.
It looked just like Fabio. I was like, holy shit. But
that would have been the most 90s thing.
Yeah. I actually wrote Fabio-esque man wearing the fur. And that like starts a whole like, thing, because, like they assume it's a woman and then it's actually a man wearing the fur and he chases after them.
Did you notice who played Dell's date in the pilot episode?
Christine Taylor.
That's right.
Oh, what?
Yeah, there are all these jokes about her being like a teenager.
Wasn't she was also in the pilot of Single Guy, right? Am I wrong? Or she was
You're thinking of Marsha Brady.
The actual Marsha Brady. Yeah, that's right.
There's lots of Brady Bunch connections here though, because
Florence Henderson.
Florence Henderson is in the Thanksgiving one.
That's the whole B plot, is that Annie loves Florence Henderson and she's going to be in the float ahead of them in the parade, which I also think is very 90s too, like this sort of Gen X idea of like loving the Brady Bunch. And it's like the whole last third of the episode is just a love letter to Florence Henderson.
Yeah, it's so sweet. That was great.
So cute. And Annie does like a Florence Henderson impression. She does like a Mrs. Brady impression, which is pretty good.
I loved her. I thought for sure that the actress's name would be familiar, or I'd be able to run off other things she was in, but I think she just has one of those faces. Like, I mean, I definitely know her from this, but she's not been in that much other stuff.
Yeah, which is a shame. She kind of has like an Annie Potts vibe to me. Brunette, sassy.
I'm with you though on loving her as the sassy best friend. I was like feeling much more like I'm a Nanny than a Caroline.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
And I just don't really feel like any cartoonists are Carolines at all.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering.
It's far too like personable and wholesome and put together and stuff. I'm like, no, this doesn't check out at all.
Technical question for you. Would someone like Kathy, would she have her own personal colorist?
This is my question as well.
Yeah, that's totally possible.
Really?
I mean, usually it would be probably someone like at the syndicate, but at the same time, that's not always the case. There's a lot of cartoonists who work with colorists directly. I don't know why this is the first thing that's springing to mind, but High and Lois for some reason popped into my mind. And I know there's like a whole team of people that work on it, and they work together at the studio together doing different aspects of it. There's multiple people that work on Garfield. Like it's not all Jim Davis. So I feel like if she was at that level of success, there totally could be. She could have a personal colorist for sure.
I'm so glad we have you to clear that up, because I was just like, is that something? Because I was like, would the syndicate hire that person, or would she have her own personal person?
Yeah, I think it could go either way easily. Yeah. I mean, because at that point, yeah, it's the 90s. Yeah, they would be reproducing it directly from her original art. So it's not like it was just part of the printing process.
I understand with a full-fledged comic book that the art, the inking is so much different than the painting or the coloring of it. But for what Kathy's doing, Caroline's doing, it seems so basic. I would think someone could just do both, but
I mean, most people do both. But there are definitely people who have assistants.
But then who would she date if she didn't have a colorist?
I mean, it's so easy plot wise to just be like, hey, this is, I mean, she doesn't have time for classes to meet someone at a Zumba.
I love the scene of them throwing fruit out the window to try to meet someone.
Yes, that was
just like the whole, as someone who lived in New York for a while, and I'm just like, what the fuck? Like the idea that this is like how super quirky ways that people meet each other.
Yeah, they're like, Annie's like, you could throw a pear out of the window and find an eligible guy. And Caroline's like, what? No. And then she does. And she's like, sorry, father. Really good joke. From the detritus that you see on the sidewalk, fruit throwing lasted quite a long time. And then they ended up finding a cute guy who was, spoiler, married. More
life in the big city when you're a young gal.
I know, you have to go through some bad apples to find that really juicy pear, right? It was more answering machine like drama. Like that was also reminding me of The Single Guy. It's, we've got an answering machine telling us some plot points, and like Richard has to go save her at the restaurant.
I really like the scene at the Italian restaurant. I thought that guy was really funny.
The Italian guy?
Remo. The guy Remo from Remo's, which
Remo.
it lasts the entire run of the show.
Remo's is their like diner in Seinfeld. That's the place that they go.
It's a very expensive Italian restaurant.
It seems like there was a must-see TV template where they were like, okay, we have to have a apartment set, and then we have a restaurant, diner, coffee shop set, and then we also have like maybe a work set, and then we're done.
Her apartment was thrilling.
Yeah, I loved her apartment.
Oh, I have a comment about her apartment. Giant Lolita poster.
Caitlin, there is an episode where she like dresses up like Lolita, and she's like, yeah.
What?
Why? I have no idea, but I was like kind of paging through the photos of Caroline in the City on IMDb, and like for some reason there's like, well, maybe not for some reason, like some internet person was like, I'll add 100 of just this 2-minute scene. And she's like, has like a lollipop, and she's like wearing a black negligee with like black thigh-high stockings, and she's like,
wait, what?
next to the poster.
So we have to watch that episode.
We do have to watch. It was actually on my list. I was like, I'm gonna watch the pilot, I'm gonna watch the Thanksgiving episode, and then maybe if I have time, I'm gonna try and watch this Lolita. I'm gonna send it to you guys.
Yeah, I can't even imagine what that's terrifying. It's probably really upsetting.
I think she's like trying to like seduce Del or something, but it's like, why are you trying to seduce your boyfriend?
Yeah,
like why do you have
to child?
Why do you have to try so hard?
Oh my God. I Googled Caroline City Lolita, and I'm getting weird answers. Related searches, underground child modeling photos.
No.
Many
I don't
pre-models.
think you want this in your search history.
No.
Stop.
Deep web underground child model portals.
Maybe stop. Maybe don't.
Your computer's going to shut
not
down.
Nobody searched Caroline in the City Lolita.
It's going to explode.
Well, it's your fault.
I know. I'm sorry.
Our apartment is amazing, though. Yeah,
Yes,
it's unlike any New York City apartment I've certainly ever seen.
It makes me want to drink tea, like just sit on her couch and drink so much tea.
It's like sort of lofty, like it's very open plan. I did have a comment about the stairs. Like they just
no railing.
No railing. They actually, to me, looked like the setup that people who are really into cats put up for their cat. Like
it looks like a cat house.
Yeah, like a cat, like a little cat jungle gym kind of thing. Because they were carpeted, and they were like, there was no railing, so it just really looked like this is for cats. And she had a whole monologue about her cat Salty. So
yeah.
Oh yeah, and Pepper, who ran away because he's a typical man.
Typical man.
So many quips in that. It was just like nonstop quips. I loved it.
I know. Yeah, I was liking it. So I was like, oh yeah, this is living up to my memory. Thank goodness, because not everything does.
I was telling a friend of mine today what we were doing tonight, and she didn't know about the show Caroline in the City. And I said, like Lea Thompson's in it. And she said, who's that?
What?
And I said, Howard the Duck. Kind of wonderful. The mom. Okay, but then you say the mom from Back to the Future, and then
right. That's the one that people would know. I think she does a great job in this.
There is a Howard the Duck inside joke on episode 2 that was kind of funny. Del just says something about Howard the Duck, how Howard the Duck was underrated, and Caroline's like, I know.
What?
I like him even more.
Yes. There was like a Garfield and Friends reference on the first episode.
Yes, I wrote it down because it was so weird. It says to her like something about lying in bed, eating Captain Crunch, and watching Garfield on Saturday mornings.
And she's like, you promised never to talk about that in the office. It's like, what's going on?
I loved it.
Yeah, I watched Garfield and Friends, so.
Yeah, it sounds like a very romantic morning to me.
Garfield and Friends is really good. It's better than the original Garfield. It's got more edge.
Garfield, just full stop. Like, I love that the person who they got to voice Garfield in everything. He was just perfect. So
He's great.
He
has a
also
very
did the
Bill Murray
voice. He did the voice of Venkman in the Ghostbusters cartoon.
Oh, really? I didn't know that. Nice.
Oh. Aaron's currently in a rabbit hole about the Heathcliff comic.
Okay, that's weird.
The
because
two
I am
Heathcliffs.
too.
The two Heathcliffs.
What do you mean two Heathcliffs?
There's two Heathcliffs. There's regular Heathcliff and bad guy Heathcliff, who looks
Oh.
like Top Cat. And if the cartoon, as it appeared on, I don't know where, Nickelodeon or something, there'd be one story about regular Heathcliff that lived in a house, and the other story about Heathcliff with the shaggy hair that lived in a junkyard.
Oh, so like Cooler the Pound Puppy Heathcliff, like the cool guy, like
I don't really understand it. I
Fonzie.
mean, they both have the same name.
Yeah, Heathcliff is super weird, and the guy who took over the strip in the 90s has now just gone off the deep end. They're all they're amazing. Tell Aaron that I am fully on board too. Also, my opinion, Heathcliff far superior to Garfield. But whatever. That's just
I mean,
my
yeah,
opinion.
it's a battle of the orange cats in like newspaper comics. But yeah, he's just like currently obsessed with how weird they've gotten since, I guess, the nephew of the person who started Heathcliff took over, and he's just full, like the jokes are so weird. Everything's like about meat and liking meat.
They're all about ham, and like there's just a lot of like non sequiturs and really
where you're just like, I don't
fourth wall stuff. It's awesome, but yes, it makes absolutely no sense.
Yeah,
I have no idea how it's getting published.
And exactly. It's just like, this is fully insane. Like there's a garbage ape. It does not make any sense at all. And to this degree where you're like, this is almost fascinating how weird this is. Where's all the Heathcliff merch?
I need to get some. So when you guys watched Caroline in the City when you were younger, I mean, what do you remember thinking about it? Did you like her? Was she like a cool role model lady, or was it just entertainment? Or
That's a good question. I liked her, but like I liked Annie a lot better.
Yeah.
Because Annie's like zippier and funnier. I guess I was 12 when this show came out. I was kind of like related to Caroline, but like wish she was cooler. She seems very normal, and there's nothing really that exciting about her. She doesn't have like a cool personality.
No, like I said, way too well adjusted to be a cartoonist.
She's just so normal. She seems very Midwestern to me.
Yeah.
That is her personality. She's from Wisconsin is the only thing they give her.
Which, by the way, accent corner, Rachel, did you like the Wisconsin accents in the thing?
Oh yeah, I mean, anyone could do that, right? It's like such a classic. And we're gonna put some cheddar cheese on top.
Yeah, they like had a full like little bit, which was cute.
My answer to whether I like the show is I like shows that were funny. I wasn't particularly interested in different characters. I just like shows. So I like the show, and Caroline, I think I remember as just being kind of like a blank slate.
Yeah.
Watching it now as an adult, I was impressed with Lea Thompson's. She's just like a very consummate actress. You could probably just like throw her in, and then she could fit in anywhere. So I just thought she was like, her delivery was great. And
it had like snappy dialogue. There was a lot of banter back and forth. And she really like kept up. So it wasn't like she stuck out as
no, it didn't look like it didn't look like it was a show built around some sort of personality that
correct.
It
wasn't like we want to have Lea Thompson in like, this is the Lea Thompson show. It was almost like, no, she got cast because she was like the best person to play this character, that's nice.
I have so many things I want to say about Garfield, but I don't want to talk about it. So I had my friend had a book when we were growing up, and it was The 9 Lives of Garfield the Cat.
Yep.
Have you seen it?
Iconic. Okay. Yeah.
And I didn't own it, but she did. But it was this like treasured thing that I would look at whenever I was at her house. And then I must have just had a brainstorm one day where I thought, oh wait, I can order that book myself. And I found it on, eBay and bought it. And my sons want me to read it to them all the time.
Aww.
And it's different artists doing different, like just kind of made up stories about Garfield. And some of them are dark, and some of them are realistic, and some of them are goofy. But I had a crush on an 8-year-old boy when I was in 3rd grade.
Okay.
I was like,
wait,
sorry.
you just say
he was in 3rd grade and I was in 3rd grade.
You like left us hanging a little bit.
Sorry. But his name, like I was obsessed with Garfield. I knew it was written by Jim Davis, and his name was Davis. And like in my mind, when you're a kid, you're like, yes, this all works.
Oh.
So I was like, I like him. His name is Davis. I love Jim Davis and I love Garfield. So like, yes, this is all meant to be.
It's all making sense. It's all coming together. Yeah.
Oddly enough, he was Brazilian, a Brazilian child named Davis.
Whatever happened? I mean, what happened to your
I don't know. He went to other school.
You guys are married now?
It's my second family.
Right. I definitely had all of those like Garfield. They were like long books. Like short
they're like
long,
shaped like the strips.
like the strips. I had like literally every single one of them.
We have also one of those Garfield books that's the Thanksgiving. It's a Thanksgiving episode. And in it, John messes up cooking so bad that he has to call grandma, and grandma comes and fixes the whole thing while Liz, the vet, is in the front room being bored by the story of Thanksgiving. But the grandma, I love the grandma, but she looks a lot like
Maxine. I was just going to say this. I love a sassy old lady. You know, I love.
She rides a motorcycle.
I love a cartoon old lady that sounds like she's smoked like 2 packs of cigarettes a day for 40 years. That's what I like. So.
Do you ever look at like the old Garfield strips when it first started and it looks like a completely different cat?
Yeah, absolutely.
Which I love him there much more. He's like far lumpier. And
he's much fatter.
Yeah,
like he looks a lot fatter because there's rolls in it. Yeah, you look at a lot of the early era of like Dennis the Menace or like the early era of Peanuts. They have evolved.
Oh, completely. Yes. They're just like the Peanuts characters in particular are just like little blobs.
Well, they're but have you seen the Peanuts versions where it starts off they're teenagers? I have a book from the 50s. I don't know where I got it from, but it's Charlie Brown. Now that I think about it, maybe it was like a one-off, like if they were teenagers. But he's Charlie Brown, but he's a teenager.
Oh, I haven't seen that. That sounds kind of weird. It sounds like, I don't know.
I wouldn't want
like he has to perpetually be the same age forever. I don't want
I feel like Charlie Brown as like a 15-year-old would really make me sad.
Well, he's bald. That's it.
Yeah, he's already bald.
The other book that we had in all my bathrooms growing up was BC.
Oh, yeah.
My uncle collected BC and the Wizard of Id.
Yeah. Are they the same artist?
No, I don't think so.
Are they merging in my mind?
Pop quiz, Caitlin.
I know.
You're failing.
Use Google to solve this. Oh, no, they are both hard.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, that's why I'm confused. All right, cool.
Huh.
Yep, totally. They're the same person. Whew.
Okay.
All right.
Mystery solved.
My job.
Mystery solved.
I think I was talking to someone about this the other day because I do this occasional YouTube show about cartoons, and we had like a very long discussion about Ziggy the other day.
Yeah.
And I was talking about how like a lot of my earliest exposure to cartoons was, or like comic strip characters, cartoon characters, was through the card store. Like I said, seeing things that were just like branded with Ziggy and Kathy and stuff. And then my close friend's father's Playboys. I'm like, I don't know what this says, what that like did to my brain, but this was at the same age and they've just melded together. So like my best friend when I was a kid, there's a lot going on in that household, but like her dad had just openly just had stacks of Playboy magazines in the bathroom. And there were 3 little girls that lived in this house.
That's so odd. That's so odd.
Totally messed
he was
up.
just reading the articles.
I just looked at them for hours, and like I just remember absorbing the cartoons there, and then absorbing Ziggy and Kathy and stuff.
Caitlin's like, I only read Playboy for the cartoons.
Yeah, it says a lot, I think, about something with my personal taste.
Right. I mean, it's also like as a kid getting a hold of a New Yorker, and you're just like, all right, I'm just gonna read all of these cartoons, and
that make no sense at all. Let alone most of the time when you're an adult.
I will pretend that I understand what they mean, but like now as an adult, I'm like, no, these don't make sense.
Yeah.
I recently watched the episode of Seinfeld where Elaine is really upset that New Yorker cartoon that doesn't make sense, and then she writes her own.
It's a Ziggy.
And it's plagiarizing Ziggy. Yeah.
It's a Ziggy.
The New Yorker is stealing my jokes.
The New Yorker is stealing my jokes.
And that's the episode where Kramer has like decided he's not going to talk anymore. And the cartoon she draws is this guy goes to the complaint department and says, I wish I were taller. And then Kramer's like, he writes something else. He crosses it out and he writes it, and she reads it and she said, my wife is a slut.
I never act on it, but like, you know, I follow the New Yorker on Instagram, and they always have that like caption contest.
Yeah.
And I always just want to troll them with like,
you should. People do it. There's a great account called Shitty New Yorker Captions.
Yeah.
on Instagram, and it's all just trolling them, and it's fantastic.
There was a period of time where I really tried to come up with those captions, and god damn it, that's hard.
Oh yeah, and I have great respect for the New Yorker. I'm like writing a book about a New Yorker cartoonist right now, so no hate on the New Yorker, but I do think, yes, especially if you're young and you're reading them, it's like, what is this?
What I don't get it, but
and a lot of it is like very elitist humor.
Right. You have to be able to understand things about living in the world that as a kid you would not know.
I never gave a brief synopsis of Caroline in the City.
Go for it.
Okay, so it ran on television. It stars Lea Thompson as cartoonist Caroline Duffy, who lives in Manhattan. The series premiered in 1995 in the must-see TV Thursday night block between Seinfeld and ER. The show ran for 97 episodes over 4 seasons before it was canceled. The final episode was broadcast in April 1999. It says the series rights are currently held by CBS Television Distribution, but there is a Caroline in the City YouTube channel where I think they have almost every episode.
I think it's almost every
episodes.
Yeah. And it's called Caroline in the City. It's not like they're trying to hide it. So, but I read that the Thanksgiving episode that we watched is actually not available for streaming anywhere. Like there's like some sort of rights issue regarding it. I don't know what it could be though. So
I know what it is.
What is it?
Did you?
Was it that song at the
Brady
end?
Bunch song. Yeah.
Yes.
So if you notice at the end during the Brady Bunch song, they like have all of a sudden there's a piano solo. And
yeah.
That's because of copyright.
That happened in the second episode I watched too.
Yeah. They have someone just put that over it.
To make it be okay. Like that it wouldn't be pulled down. Oh, you know, it worked though. That YouTube person, they made it work.
Oh, totally. They totally did.
I also like the little cartoon interstitials they did with her.
Mm-hmm.
I was trying to look up just now, unless maybe you guys have looked it up already. Do you know who did the animation?
I was trying to figure that out too, and I couldn't find it. I'd like to know because they're actually pretty good.
They're great. I really want to know.
You can go to carolineinthecity.com. Wait, it's still loading. Maybe it's
is there like a big fan base for Caroline?
On Wikipedia, it just says external link website, and I'm trying to go to it, but it's not loading, so I don't think there's anything there.
Oh boy. Yeah, it's not loading for me either, but
is now the time to buy this URL?
I think so.
This is just
yeah, I mean those 1,500 subscribers on the YouTube channel for Caroline in the City, like they'll just clamor to it, you know.
I think it was a good show. I remember laughing a lot at it, and I also laughed a lot now. And I think big picture, I really was drawn to shows. Even as a kid, I just fantasized about being an adult.
Yes.
Like I just wanted to be a working adult with my own apartment, living my own life. And I thought that'd be just so great. So like, I just was drawn to shows like Single Guy, Friends, Seinfeld, Caroline in the City, News Radio. I don't know, people living in a city, I guess.
Yeah, it was the fantasy, you know? And yeah, just like as a kid wanting to date people, you're like, oh, I like seeing this girl date people. That's neat.
Yeah, I feel the same way. And I was a kid that didn't really like kids. You know? Like I didn't like kid stuff. I mean, I had kid friends, and
which is so funny because like you could argue that like Ziggy.
Well, you like Playboys.
Yeah.
Well, but you know what I mean? Like I was talking to someone about Family Circus recently. It's like, I didn't like Family Circus at all because it was kid stuff, and it's kids that even as a kid who was that age, it just was. But I was really intrigued by like Apartment 3G. And even though I didn't understand it, I was like, this is just cool, but it's for the same reason. It's like adult women in particular who are roommates, like living in a city. And what's happening.
This reminds me of like when I was a kid and I refused to read The Babysitter's Club because I thought that was for kids.
Yeah.
So as a third or fourth grader, I was reading Stephen King novels.
Yes.
Like Agatha Christie. And I was like, I will not read Babysitter's Club. That's for babies. I'm not a baby. So
But I guess if you were a kid in the 90s watching primetime, I mean, there aren't really any kids. So like you'd have to be watching adult shows.
I mean, there was like the whole, TGIF that
or one special night a week.
Right.
Yep.
They definitely did program stuff for kids, which I can't really say that they do that now on like primetime.
That's
or
true.
like
TGIF
network.
and Snick. That was like what I watched when I was a kid.
Heck yeah.
Love Snick.
Love it.
Do you have any Mad Magazine? I couldn't think of anything.
Okay, well, this one is not what they would use in Mad Magazine because it's too dirty, but it Caroline and the Shitty.
Wait, what is this feature?
It's our segment where we try to come up with the Mad Magazine parody title. Like if they were doing yes.
Great. It's a great idea.
So Caroline and the Shitty it seems like the obvious one, but like they would never use it because they wouldn't use a swear in Mad Magazine.
Yeah.
Lion in the City.
Lion in the City.
LYIN apostrophe. Lion in the City.
Crying in the City.
Crying. That's perfect.
Yeah, there we go. Crying
in the City.
And Dell would be dull. That would be
Oh God.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, that's an easy one.
And the other one is the most 90s. I thought Annie's hair was pretty 90s. Her Annie's outfits gave me such agita because they're tight on the top and tight on the bottom and a big old tight belt in the middle. And I'm like, oh God, where would you hide in these clothes? It made me so anxious.
Did you notice her bottle cap belt in the Thanksgiving Day episode? Oh, bottle caps. I was like, I remember that.
She's dressed like a dance mom, actually.
Well,
1, 2, 3.
I know. I loved her like insanely short skirt with like business jacket up top in the first one.
Oh
like,
yeah, that was Caroline, and I was like, is this a skirt? I was like, it's a skirt.
Extremely short.
But Rachel, it is funny that you mentioned dance in regards to Annie, because I don't know if you remember this. This is the most 90s thing to me, and it wasn't in any of the episodes we watched, but Annie is a dancer, and her job is she's in Cats.
What? Yes, because she's wearing a Cats jacket in one episode.
Yes, and she wears like the full Cats outfit, painted up, like makeup, the whole thing.
So this is a time in which that was supposed to be a joke, I guess.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and it's also like you live in New York and you're a dancer, and like the idea is that I guess you could have that as a job on like a sitcom because it's so long running that it's almost like an institution. So it's just like, yeah, she's in Cats.
Oh, totally. I mean, those commercials for Cats were on. I'm from New York originally, and those commercials were on constantly.
Yes, absolutely.
Perfect joke.
My son really loves the movie version of Cats.
Oh.
We went to go see in the theaters together.
Rachel, he loves it.
Likes it.
No.
He likes the train cat, Rumbleshanks.
Oh wow, yeah.
Rumbleshanks is the best one for sure.
Aaron and I got that from the library, and we watched it. And I wasn't going to.
Oh no, the movie's bad. I mean, it's crazy.
It's really like I could not believe what I was watching. Regardless, I think Cats it's weird that it was such a hit on Broadway because it is a deeply weird show. You know, like the music is weird, the like plotting is weird.
Well, there's no plot. Yeah.
It's nothing. And so it already starts at a deficit. And then they just made so many weird choices with like the effects that I just like, I could not believe
If I want to drive my husband crazy, I just go, Jellicle songs for Jellicle cats, Jellicle songs for Jellicle cats, Jellicle songs for Jellicle cats, Jellicle songs for Jellicle cats. I mean, for like 10 minutes.
I do love the Cats t-shirt. Like I wish I had one, like that black t-shirt with like just cats across, you know.
My dad and his best friend were big into musicals, and they wrote their own musical.
Oh.
And my dad did the lyrics, and then his friend Martin did the music. It was about the French Revolution, but it was not Les Mis.
Okay.
But it's called Corday, and it's about Charlotte Corday, who is the woman who murdered Marat during the French Revolution.
Okay.
And the music is very good. And they put out a demo, and they could never really get it performed. But I always kind of had this hope that we could probably get like, I don't know what you would have to do, but like, why can't a high school production or a community production put it
like
on or something?
I don't know.
Theater or something?
You know, if we just price it like $1 less than the Les Mis rates.
Right. Get it when like Oscar gets older, just like push that through at his like school, you know? It's like, I've got the book, like I can make it happen, you know?
Exactly.
And then,
but we used to go see a lot of musicals, and we saw like the DC production of Cats, and you know, it's like that was huge. Like that year, like 87, 88, like every talent show, someone was singing Memory, or I learned to play Memory on the piano during piano lessons and stuff.
It's a good song. It's the only good
Yeah.
song. It's the only one that you could just like argue is a song.
Jellicle songs with Jellicle cats.
I never saw it ever on the stage.
Me
Ever.
neither.
I just saw like Les Mis probably every other year. I think.
I just saw my before watching the actual movie that came out recently, like my only exposure to cats was those commercials that ran like forever, and then also Annie on Caroline in the City.
Kind of want to watch more Caroline in the City.
Good. I actually
the Lolita episode.
Yeah. I will send you that link because but I was like, what is happening? What is this? Why is she dressed like this? Did you guys know that there was a musical version of Lolita?
No.
It was like a notorious flop in like the 70s, and the actress who played Lolita in this musical that I think even like it closed before it got to Broadway, the girl who played Lolita in this musical, I think it was called Lolita My Love, and the girl who played it was Violet Beauregard in the Willy Wonka movie.
Oh,
ooh, weird.
Yeah, very weird.
Have you seen this or
no? I just like became aware of it, and like if you Google it, you can find like YouTube has like the entire score on it. Like someone had recorded one of their like Boston tryouts of like this show, and it seems like so misguided.
Oh, it sounds awful. I mean, it's yeah.
Why would you ever? And now you have to look it up. You're like,
I totally have to look it up. I
like,
want to watch the Caroline in the City episode too, even though I'm like horrified thinking about, that was like a formative episode probably for some gentlemen, for some young boys who watched like, the Caroline in the City episode.
Yeah, like
their families.
There's like a Reddit forum
totally
dedicated to it. God, no, thank you. All right, what else we got, Rachel?
I think that's it. I mean,
just what you watching?
Oh yeah, what you watching? I am still watching Made for Love on HBO Max. I burned through a show called The Other Two, which was on Comedy Central.
I want to watch that.
And Jillian Bream, friend of the pod, Eric Hutchinson's wife, was the costume designer on it.
Isn't Molly Shannon?
The costumes were good. Yes, yeah, she got a Critics' Choice Award for it. It was really good. It was very much, even though plot-wise doesn't have to do with it, it reminded me a lot of Broad City because I don't know, it's like, do they use the same cameramen or something? Because humor-wise, everything is so similar. It's like you're watching the same show with different plot, different characters. It's on HBO Max. Yeah. But it's a Comedy Central show too. And I just realized that the third season of a show that I loved and forgot about is back. So I'm like deep into it again, and it's Killing Eve.
Oh, okay.
On Hulu.
I haven't watched that. I watched the first episode of that and I didn't continue. I don't know why. It wasn't because I didn't like it, but like
it's got great music. It's got like a lot of European, music and other international music in other languages, and a lot of European sets and like amazing. It's just kind of like nice to watch.
You love European stuff.
Oh yeah. I'm a Europhile.
Caitlin, what are you watching right now?
We are watching Ozark.
Oh.
Everyone talked about it for a long time and we never watched it. And so now we're just beginning it. And it's great. I don't know if either
starting your journey.
Aaron and I watched that as well, although we did not watch the last season. Like we still have to like.
Is it very mobby?
Not really.
Mob stuff.
It's really similar to Breaking Bad. I find it's about bad people continuing to make horrible decisions and bad things happening to them. But it's I don't know. I'm pretty intrigued. It's one of those shows where I'm watching it and the whole time I'm stressed out. I'm like, why am I continuing to watch something that is giving me so much anxiety?
I know.
I just can't stop. I mean, it's just really great characters and yeah.
And then you've got like Jason Bateman and Laura Linney, right? I like both of them. So
same. And we're only in like the second season, so we have a ways to go.
It's like very heavy though. Like that was a show that I feel like I had to like parcel out because I couldn't watch because I think it was too stressful for me that I just couldn't watch many episodes in a row because it was just too intense.
Yeah, I find that we will watch stuff like that and then we have sort of like a palate cleanser show that we watch at the end of the night. And for a while I think we finished them now. It was Joe Pera Talks With You. I don't know if you've seen that.
I don't know.
Joe Pera is a comedian and he does this bizarre show and I think it's on Hulu. I can't even describe his character. His character is actually kind of like if Ziggy, he like talks very slowly and smoothly, and it's like Joe Pera explains how to grow beans and just like random things. It's very calming.
So you've got like it's like a comedian ASMR kind of thing going on.
Totally. I mean, it's extremely funny, but in like a really, really slow, dry kind of way. So.
It is important to have like a dichotomy happening with your TV watch, you know, like you just like something that's like the polar opposite, so you just don't get like driven into the ground with
totally. It's a palate cleanser. And there was that I don't know, did you guys see that show with John Wilson is his name? I think it's How To with John Wilson.
No.
Another one though where it's just kind of calming documentary style but funny.
I've only been watching Deep Space Nine and stuff for the Cleveland International Film Festival, which has been very good. But I do want to talk about what I've been reading, which is after our VR5 episode, I got Disclosure out of the library as a joke. So I've been reading Disclosure. Do you guys know what
The John Grisham book?
No, it's Michael Crichton.
Oh, Crichton.
No.
And there was a movie of it that Michael Douglas is in. And it like the premise, it's so 90s. It's about sexual harassment, but it's like, what if the woman was the harasser?
Oh, God.
Yeah. And it's the book. I was like, why did I get this out? It's like I'm punishing myself. So it's like super funny because it was written in 1995. So it's like Michael Crichton like there's all of these like descriptions of like new technology, like two characters discussing cell phones, and like one of them has to explain what a cell phone is, and the other one is like, really? Oh, that sounds interesting. Wow, that sounds pretty cool. And he's like, yeah, I mean, I don't know how I remembered phone numbers before this. It's just like, really?
Oof.
The main character works in Seattle in this tech company, and he is like developing a state-of-the-art CD-ROM, and you're like, what? What is happening? But yeah, I just got to the sexual harassment part, and it is insane. Like there's a lot of talk about like this woman, it's like her first day on the job, she gets like the CEO job over the main character. He thinks he's going to get it, or he's going to get this big promotion, but this woman gets it instead because, well,
the future,
right? And like it's her first day at the job, and like on day one she's like, why don't I try and like sexually assault this guy I used to date? Like I'm just gonna call him into my office and just really go for it. And like there's a scene where like as this like thing is happening, like her assistant brings in a package and then on the way out locks the door. And inside the package is like a box of condoms. So like this woman on her first day at like a very important job, she has conspired with her assistant to purchase her condoms in order to attack this guy, and then also tell her, why don't you lock the door so we have some privacy. It just is insane.
I'm impressed that you're able to like read something like that and stick with it for that far.
Yeah. I mean, it's just like fascinating it's definitely fascinating in this way where you're like, this was written by a man who has never met a woman, I guess.
Totally.
Because there's a whole like part in the beginning of this like a harassment scene where she's like on the phone and she's wearing like the description of her skirt suit. She's like dangling her legs off of her desk, and the main character notices that she's not wearing pantyhose, and he's like, oh. And then she notices him notice that she's not wearing pantyhose, and then she's like, yeah, I just like to be free.
That's amazing.
Is pantyhose donezo? Do people still wear it?
I don't think so. I think pantyhose is completely donezo. Like,
I'm good. Maybe the Disclosure was the final nail in the coffin.
I don't know. But can you imagine just like, oh yeah, she's not wearing pantyhose. What a whore. Like the idea that a woman would just even be like, yeah, I'm not wearing them. Yeah, I know that everyone else does, but here I am. I'm my own woman. It just like is such a like man idea.
Oh, totally.
To just be like, oh wow, you know, pantyhose. Like that's a defining part of her personality, that she doesn't wear pantyhose. Like, okay, whatever. Anyway, that's what I'm reading. Any final thoughts about Caroline in the City?
It's good. It should not be forgotten. Good, but not forgotten.
Yeah, I mean, if it was on the air now, I would watch it.
Oh yeah, Caitlin, could you tell us like what's the status of the comic industry?
Sure. How much time do you have? No.
I need a snapshot.
So web comics and graphic novels are basically the way of the future. So a lot of cartoonists who had syndicated comic strips have moved into other, either the webcomic form where comics still are syndicated, or into graphic novels and just like changed formats entirely. So very, very few newspapers even carry comic sections anymore. And the ones that do are smaller and smaller all the time.
That's such a bummer.
But, in like the grand history of the format, like comics has always kind of reinvented itself and moved into different formats,
Right.
from political cartoons to newspapers to comic books to graphic novels, etc. So it's all good. People are finding other ways to make it work.
But I heard Marvel's doing well.
doing
Really?
just fine.
Where'd you hear that from?
Maybe not the cartoonists themselves.
Yeah, no, there's
but
always
the
drama
movie-
there.
So I think really it's just webcomics have mostly become the way of the future for people who want to do comic strip art.
Is there a up and coming Caroline in the City out there that you are aware of?
Well, there's a woman who took over Nancy.
Yes, I'm
And
obsessed with her.
she works under a pseudonym and she's incredible. And it's the first time a woman's ever drawn Nancy, and they're incredibly funny. She's updated it to be really modern, but she's sort of anonymous. Like I said, she uses a pen name, so I guess she couldn't really have a show.
I love.
But I was
that,
just thinking
though.
about like cartoonists who have shows about cartoonists, and the cartoonist Keith Knight. There actually is a show about him that would kind of be like Caroline in the City, but about a Black cartoonist.
Yeah, that was on Hulu, right? What was it
It
called?
was on Hulu. It's just got renewed for a second season. It's called Woke,
Yes,
and it's amazing. And
Yeah.
it's based on Keith Knight's life as a cartoonist,
great.
like comic strip artist and political cartoonist. So yeah, highly recommend.
Yeah, I'm gonna watch that. Yeah, that's on my list.
Well, thank you so much for coming.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Caitlin.
Sure.
All right.
All right,
Good night,
bye.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Bye, Caitlin. Thank you so much.
Bye.